Hello everybody, it's me and this is the Answers vid. I'm not going to tell you how many times I've tried to make this video, but it's more than once. I've been suffering from inexplicable computer problems, but that's my problem and not yours. So let's crack right on. And we'll start with Kooky Inc. Kooky Inc. Wanted to ask me a three-part question on genetic engineering, basically. First of all, he asked me, do I think that genetically modifying organisms is an acceptable practice when there may be some benefit for humanity? For example, pest-resistant corn. The answer to that one is yes, I do. I do believe quite happily that taking genes from a similar type plant that is disease-resistant or has certain insect-resistant properties and putting them into our own agricultural crops is absolutely acceptable. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. And the next question he asks in his three-parter is, do I think that genetically modifying organisms is acceptable practice when there is no benefit for humanity, like glowfish? Well, I'd take argument with that. There is some benefit for us with glowfish because they were originally designed, created, made, so that they would fluoresce in the presence of certain poisons or toxins in water. So that was their primary design function. But as a secondary thing, have you ever seen glowfish? I think they're very pretty, so I've got no problem with that either. Now the next one, the last part of his three-parter is an ethical part. It's, do I think that genetically modifying humans is ethical? Well, no, not as a general principle. I don't really think we should be mucking about with trying to make people smarter or adjusting their eye colour or their hair colour or stuff like that to make them stronger or smarter. But again, you'd have to take it on a case-by-case basis, is that if a couple can't have kids because, let's say, they have congenital diseases that they pass on to their kids, genetically modifying an egg so that it didn't have these diseases to be passed on, I can't see a problem with that. But as I say, on a whole, you'd have to take it by case basis, and I think it's a dodgy subject at the moment. So I hope those answer your questions suitably, Kooky, and I'm going to move on to the next one. Alright, Casey Guitar, you say, is this a question? And I say, yes, if this is an answer. Cranky Crone, you sort of asked me like it's a weirdish question, but anyway, you say that in your mental health department, the staff there have started a Bible study group, which you find unethical. So do I. And you're tempted to lodge a complaint. Well, it depends. You see, I'd say it depends on two things. Is one, are they set the Bible study group up for just themselves, for when they're not actually at work, but in the workplace? Or two, is it set up as a supposed therapy for the psychiatric patients? If it's one, and they've done it for themselves, well, don't lodge a complaint, just start an atheist encounter group in the same room at the same time and watch the fireworks fly. If it's the second one, and they're trying to set up a Bible study group for the patients there, I suggest you scream like crazy and complain until somebody loses their job or they stop it, because mixing religion and psychiatric patients is not a good idea. And moving on to Mellery231, thank you very much. She was my 100th subscriber. She asked me a simple question, which is more complicated than it sounds. But do I believe that engineered negligible senescence or senescene is feasible? Now, what that is that taking aging and treating it as a series of engineering problems. So rather than treating the aging process as a whole, you break down what causes aging, and you try and take each of the causes of aging and you treat it as an engineering problem. So you find some way of fixing the DNA to make sure it copies itself properly and yada yada yada. I'm not going to go into great detail, but do I think it's feasible? No, I don't think it's feasible, not at this precise moment in time. For that, I think we'd have to perfect nanobots, so they could get inside the cells and repair them from there. But the bigger question is, do I think it's advisable? No, I don't think it's advisable at all, because you'd have to think, who would this technology be available for? it would be available for the incredibly rich. That's who it would be available for. And what you'd end up with is you end up with a two-tier human race. Those who can afford it, those who can't. Those who could afford it would live a very, very long time, and those who couldn't would obviously be the poor. They live an average lifetime, and they do all the work for the very, very rich people. Sound familiar? Oh, anyway, moving on. I'm not going to get into politics. Hey, yes, Ozzy. Thank you for your question, and there's no problem in the shout-outs that I do give for you because you're a great bloke and you deserve them. Right, you said you were going to ask a trivial question, which do I prefer, Mars bars or M&M, and that would be neither, Twix, and I don't think that's a waste of bandwidth, but your real question is, do I think that the proposition that organic life could have been seeded by a meteorite is possible? Yes, I do. It is possible. It's got a reasonable probability to it. They have found organic matter inside meteorites, and there is some debate whether they found fossilized bacteria on the surface of meteorites, of whether it was there before it came in or whether it got there since it was on Earth. But the very fact that they found organic matter inside meteorites tends to make that, yeah, it's possible. It's got quite a high probability, but I don't know. I have no idea whether the organic material that started life started here on this planet or was introduced to it, by comets or meteorites, and that would need an awful lot more study and research. But there we go. I hope that answers your question. Oh, I hate useless tube. I made this video about 1.5 minutes too long, so I've had to chop it into 2 parts. Part 2 is following very quickly, so TTFN for now.